All right. All right. So today we're talking about the Aztecs. So around the time Mayan cities in the Yucatan reached their height, the Aztecs began to rise power in their north. The early Aztecs were a small group of unlucky farmers from northwestern Mexico who in time created the most powerful empire in Mesoamerica. So, rise of the empire. Sounds like we're talking about Star Wars here. Began as separate farming tribes, probably subject of the Toltecs. The legend is that they settled where they saw an eagle on a cactus eating a snake. They migrated south to the Valley of Mexico in the 1100s, but good farmland has already been taken. So they settled on a swampy island in a valley called Lake Texcoco, site where the legend says Aztecs saw the eagle and snake. They founded the city of Tenochtitlan. From here, they continued to rise to power. In addition to being farmers, the Aztecs were also fierce warriors, and they began to fight to control the other towns around Lake Texcoco. Unlike the Mayans, the Aztecs did not develop independent states. They were one city state that grew larger. So it's kind of funny. The Aztecs are like the Romans in that sense, but the Mayans are more like the Greeks, where they were separate and fighting. All right, so here's Lake Texcoco. There's Tenochtitlan, that is also the today. That's Mexico City, the capital. Most people don't know that. All right, so Aztecs, we're looking here. Here's Tenochtitlan and some of the other major cities here. All right, the Aztecs were conquering warriors. They gained strength in the 1420s with alliancing with Texcoco and Tlacopan. They also gained control over a huge region beyond Lake Texcoco, and the Aztecs would end up ruling up to 400 to 500 other city-states, with 5 million people. They required conquered people to pay tribute. Um, Wealth and strength. Tribute paid in many forms: feathers, food, pottery, blankets. The tribute was the basis for the economy. They gained wealth and strength through trade as well. They created a system of roads, aided trade of goods like jade and cacao. Merchants also acted as spies for the Aztec Emperor. All right, let's talk about Tenochtitlan. This is the capital city of the Aztec Empire. It covered 5 square miles with a population of about 200,000. It's one of the largest cities in the world at the time and is the site of present-day Mexico City. They basically just built on top of Mexico City. It has an enchanted vision and has a walled compound at the city center, a pyramid with 2 temples on top. Other temples, government buildings, and palaces with a ball court. The political and religious heart of the empire is Tenochtitlan. The first Europeans described this city as an enchanted vision. They created floating gardens, which are swampy. Because it's a swampy island in the middle of a lake, there's not much land for farming, so the Aztecs built floating gardens at the city's edge. Tenochtitlan connected by canals and causeways to the biggest market, and vendors paid a tax to support the army. All right, so here's an example of what the capital looked like back in its day. So you got the pyramid at the top, so forth. All right, so just as the economy of the Aztec Empire was organized, so was its society. The king was at the top of the society, followed by the priest. All right, the king was part of a royal family, but yet he had to be elected. So, which is odd. That he lived in palace at Tenochtitlan, and certain nobles were served as government officials. And just below the king would be the priest. The priest would interpret calendars and perform religious ceremonies. Religious ceremonies. Believed gods needed blood. Alright, they sacrificed as many as 20,000 victims a year. The European perspective is that walls splashed and caked with blood stank abominably. The slaves were prisoners that were used for sacrifices. Certain warriors who captured victims were also upper class. So here is a depiction of the sun god here on the right. I want it's a little pochti. Um, so you can see interesting depiction here on the left, isn't it? I'm not sure how to describe that. All right, moving on. Other classes in society. We have merchants, artisans that were wealthy and respected. Merchants were rich from trading. Artisans were important because they made goods required for tribute. All right. Most lower class members were farmers, very poor. They did not own their own land. And so they ended up having to pay so much in tribute that it became difficult for farmers to survive in the Aztec Empire. But there was a chance for improvement. Farmers could become warriors or study at special schools. They all attended school until 15, continued in special schools that led to working in government. And then finally, slaves. They suffered the most in Aztec society. Most of these people had been captured in battle or could not pay their debts. Some worked as farmers, laborers, but a lot of them were sacrificed as well to the gods. Aztec achievements. The Aztecs were known for achievements in art and science. The artisans would make bright feathers into headdresses, shields, and costumes, which is pretty typical of, uh, feathers, headdresses. That's a pretty common thing among uh, uh, Native American or American Indian, whichever term you prefer to use. Um, Metal workers were fashioned into gold, silver, copper into jewelry. They had masks that they would wear. Also, very typical of Native American, American Indian. Stoneworkers decorated temples with elaborate statues. All right. Sciences, they kept written records, but they were not as advanced as Maya. They composed poetry, riddles, historical accounts, and they used astronomy to create religious solar calendars like the Maya. And the Aztec Empire lasted less than 200 years, brought to an end by European contact in the 1500s. The Aztec Empire is going to put up a fight, and the way that the siege on Tenochtitlan is one of the most famous military conquests in history by the conquistadors of Spain, which we'll talk more about that when we get to our exploration unit. So sometime in the late winter, okay? All right. So, all right, and that is it for the second video today. Thank you for listening, and as always, have a blessed and splendid day.